So if you do not have stencils, one of the things that you can do to make sure that your text is perfect before you add it to your watercolor paper is you could always draw out your letters either on another surface, like a piece of drawing paper or sketch paper, or you could draw it on tracing paper directly. I'm going to show you how to do a tracing paper transfer. So what you want to do is to get your text out from other previous tutorial videos on fonts from like Drawing 1 class. You might remember that we typically like to use guidelines to ensure that our letters are straight. However, if your style is intentionally not straight because you're trying to create a different meaning, you can obviously change that as well. And then I worked on spacing. So I actually drew like rectangles where I wanted the letters to go. And then I worked on equal spacing. So the distance here, the distance here, the distance here are pretty consistent. So just keep in mind a few of those tricks. Then in order to transfer it, I'm actually going to have to trace it onto some tracing paper. So remember that tracing paper is kind of this thin semi-transparent surface. It's translucent. And so what I'm going to do is just use a pencil, and I just have a number 2 pencil, and I'm going to go ahead and trace it on the surface. And I want to be pretty precise about it. So I'm staying on the line. Making sure it's nice and clean, concise. Make sure it's exactly what I want to transfer onto another surface. Okay, so I've got it transferred. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it upside down. And here I can actually see a little bit of my inconsistencies. And so what you can actually do is always transfer it, flip it upside down, and either put it on another surface like paper that's not your drawing. So you wouldn't want to do this directly on your watercolor paper. Or you could do it on the desktop, but just know you're going to have to clean that desktop up. And what you'd want to do is just outline the lines again, right, so that you have pencil on this side. And so if you have different drawing pencils, something that's soft works really well. So like either 4B from Drawing 1 class, or if you have a set, another soft B. So 2B, 4B, 6B will work really well. HB will work too. So like a number 2 pencil will work. Sometimes it's just very faint. It's very hard to see the line. So you can just precisely trace the line like this. Another thing you could do is you could kind of sketch over the line and give it a little bit of thickness. Some people like doing this because sometimes they miss their line when they're transferring, they're working really fast, or maybe it's a detail that's not supposed to be super precise, and they can do this too. I'm just really cautious about this method when I'm using watercolor paper because sometimes it smears if you put too much graphite down. So you want a nice kind of like dark, smudgy area to transfer, okay? And you can see that already just that number 2 pencil has transferred onto that cheap paper, okay? So the reason I like tracing paper is because I can really think about what it's gonna look like before I put it down. So, you know, based on your plan for your sketch or for your whatever layer you have down, you might think about your positioning. So you're like, do I want it in the center? Do I want it here? Where do I want to place the lettering? And so what you'd want to do is place it down. And if you wanted to, you could use tape, which I didn't have in front of me. You could use some masking tape. I always like to put it on another surface so it doesn't rip the paper. And maybe I want this crooked. I'm going to make it crooked. Right? And so then what I want to do is trace on the lines of the no. So now it's right side up. And I don't want to press hard because I don't want to create grooves on the surface. And so if you put enough down, it should come off on the other surface. So you should be able to use this again, right, as long as you put enough pencil down. So this is a great way of repeating the same font over and over and over again. So I could move this, and I could try it again. Let's see how well it shows. Oh, you can see it again, right? So feel free to use this tracing paper method in order to repeat an image over and over and over again.